Sarah always wondered why her grandmother, who ran a small noodle shop in Chinatown, would give free food to struggling students and homeless people. Her grandmother would simply smile and say in her gentle voice, "When I was young and in trouble, I was helped by others. So I promise to help people whenever I can." Furthermore, learning to give when others can't repay you doesn't mean losing anything, because heaven will help you in its own way. Sarah didn't understand this philosophy at first. As a business student, she had learned about profit margins and cost management. Every free portion her grandmother gave away meant less profit for the shop. One rainy evening, while helping at the shop, Sarah noticed a young man in worn-out clothes standing outside, looking at their menu with longing eyes. Before her grandmother could act, Sarah decided to try something different. "Would you like to come in for a hot bowl of noodles?" she called out to him. The young man looked embarrassed. "I only have $3, he admitted. "That's okay. Please, come in from the rain," Sarah said, surprising herself with her grandmother's words coming out of her mouth. She served him a large bowl of noodles with extra dumplings, just as her grandmother would have done. The young man ate gratefully, and before leaving, he promised to return and pay them back properly one day. Months passed, and Sarah forgot about the incident. The noodle shop continued its tradition of generosity, and she began to understand the warm feeling her grandmother talked about when helping others. Then one stormy night, Sarah's car broke down on a deserted street. Her phone was dead, and most businesses were closed. As she stood there wondering what to do, a tow truck pulled up beside her. "Need help?" the driver asked. When Sarah looked up, she recognized the young man from the noodle shop, now wearing a uniform with Mike's Towing Service on it. "You're the kind lady from the noodle shop," he exclaimed. "I've been looking for your shop again to repay you, but I moved to a different area for this job. Please let me help you, no charge. It's the least I can do for your kindness that night." Despite Sarah's protests, Mike insisted on towing her car to the nearest mechanic, and even helped her get a fair price for the repairs. What would have been a $200 towing fee turned into a free service from a grateful customer. When Sarah told her grandmother about the incident, the old woman simply nodded with a knowing smile. "See, when you help others without expecting anything in return, heaven finds ways to repay you. Sometimes it's not about the money, it's about the connections we make and the kindness we share." From that day on, Sarah fully embraced her grandmother's philosophy. She realized that the losses they took by helping others weren't really losses at all. They were investments in human kindness that always seemed to find their way back, sometimes in the most unexpected ways. Years later, when Sarah took over the noodle shop after her grandmother retired, she continued the tradition of generosity. Every time she added free dumplings to a struggling student's bowl, or offered a hot meal to someone in need, she remembered her grandmother's words and Mike's kindness on that rainy night. "What goes around comes around," she would tell her own children. When you learn to give without counting the cost, you're not really losing anything. The universe has its own way of keeping balance. 单字 portion 食物的一份 noun the amount of a particular food that is served to one person, especially in a restaurant or a shop that sells food ready to be eaten. Worn out 用坏的穿破的 something is old and has been used a lot, so it is no longer in good condition. Dumpling 饺子 noun a small ball of dough, often cooked in hot liquid, and eaten with meat and vegetables. What goes around comes around. 善有善报恶有恶报 it means that the way you treat others will eventually come back to you. If you do good things will happen to you. But if you do bad things might happen to you in return. It's about the idea of karma, or the consequences of your actions.